It's Sunday, February 27th, 2016 at 6:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11:38 p.m. Coordinated Universal Time. You are looking at the Falcon 9 on the SpaceX pad at Launch Complex 40 as it awaits its 6:46 p.m. local time launch. Welcome to the live webcast of the SpaceX launch of SES-9, and to those of you who were here with us on Thursday, thank you for coming back. My name is Lauren Lyons. I am a mission integrator here at SpaceX, and I'm standing outside of Mission Control along with my fellow coworkers at our company headquarters here in Hawthorne, California. It's Sunday afternoon here in LA, and the team in Mission Control is behind me on console and at the ready. Today will mark the second launch of our upgraded Falcon 9 rocket, the Falcon 9 upgrade's first trip to geostationary transfer orbit, and our first attempt to land the Falcon 9 upgrade on a drone ship. We're running a slightly shorter webcast today following Thursday's attempt, but we'll give you an update on the road leading up to this point, status on the vehicle and satellite, and then head right into the countdown for a liftoff at approximately 6:46 p.m.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michael Hammersley, materials engineer. If you were with us on Thursday, you know we got just under the 2-minute mark before you heard the launch conductor call hold, hold, hold over the countdown net, which stopped the countdown. In the final minutes there, the team saw some indications that the LOX propellant, that's the liquid oxygen, wasn't loading as expected and called a hold so our teams could take a closer look. We spent the last couple days double and triple checking the systems, and we've confirmed that both the rocket and the spacecraft are in great condition, and we're looking forward to liftoff in just a few minutes here.
One of the primary purposes of this countdown is to give our team a chance to do one final check of the vehicle before we send it into space, because once it leaves the ground, there's no more troubleshooting or testing that can be done. For that reason, we'll hold the countdown for even the slightest variation, just to be sure we're set up as best as possible for a successful launch. And if you tuned into our OrbCom webcast in December, you know that densified propellants, or super chilled liquid oxygen, is one of the upgrades in the Falcon 9 that allow us to deliver more performance for our customers. Basically, by super chilling the LOX, we're able to get more of it into the same amount of space, which is particularly important for these high-performance GTO missions like today's SES-9 mission. Today, we'll be looking at putting the SES-9 at an altitude of about 36,000 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, and potentially more depending on how much extra performance we get out of the second stage. So, with both the vehicle and the SES-9 satellite healthy and ready at the launch pad, it's looking like a beautiful day for a launch here at Cape Canaveral. We are looking forward to liftoff in just a few minutes.
Hello again. I'm John Innsbrucker, the Falcon 9 Product Director. The short and sweet of it is that just inside of T-minus 6 minutes, everything's looking go for an on-time launch. Let's take a look, though, in a little more detail at our readiness, which is planned, as I said, just over 5.5 minutes from now. On the Falcon 9, we did the readiness poll at T-minus 35 minutes and began loading liquid oxygen and RP-1 fuel into the rocket. Propellant loading is continuing, and it appears that we have enough time in this countdown to get the liquid oxygen fully loaded and at the cold temperatures that we require for flight. Currently, the RP-1 kerosene fuel has completed loading on both the first and the second stage engines. Now we're in the launch auto sequence. This is where the ground and the flight computers jointly control the last commands. It's that ballet, that tightly synchronized dance between the two sets of computers to make sure the Falcon 9 and the ground systems are ready for launch at T0. Now, as I discussed in the last webcast, we're trying to do the testing as close to launch as we can to make sure everything's ready to go close to T0. So currently we've begun the chill-in sequence for the Merlin engines. Liquid oxygen is flowing through the turbo pumps, getting the Merlins ready for ignition just before T0. We'll also be checking throttle valves, thrust vector control actuators, everything that we can to make sure that we're ready to go. That'll finish right at T0 when the Falcon flight computer tells the ground to release the rocket once it's checked that we're at full power. Now currently we're coming up on transfer to internal power on the Falcon rocket, going to the batteries from the ground power. We'll begin opening up the clamp around the second stage at T-minus 4.5 minutes and begin retracting the strongback, something that you ought to be able to see moving at around 3 minutes. The spacecraft is on internal power. Boeing and the SES team are go for launch. The range is ready for launch, and the weather, we've been looking at upper altitude winds all day, but the good news is the latest balloon shows that we're good both at ground level and upper altitude winds. So range, weather, spacecraft, and the Falcon 9 are go at T-minus 3.5 minutes.
We are just minutes away from launching SES-9, which is the 9th telecommunications satellite in the SES family, and the second one that we will have launched here at SpaceX. We'll be delivering SES-9 to GTO, or geostationary transfer orbit, at approximately 38,000 kilometers or even higher in altitude. Once the spacecraft is deployed from the second stage, it's going to use its onboard chemical and electric propulsion thrusters in order to adjust its position and transfer from GTO into its final geostationary orbit, or GEO. Geostationary orbit is so high up that the satellite orbits the planet at the same speed that it rotates, making it appear as a fixed point in the sky, kind of like a star when you look up. This is contrasted with the International Space Station, which is in low Earth orbit at about 300 kilometers high, which is much closer to the Earth's surface and therefore orbits much, much faster, about once every 90 minutes. We'll be dropping SES-9 off over 100 times as high as the space station. Now, to get the spacecraft to the best position we can, we're going to need a lot of propellant. And that means we won't have a ton of it left over in the first stage when we fly it back down to the drone ship. And because, as we said before, we're going to need to use every last drop of that remaining propellant to burn the Falcon engines, to slow it down and orient it towards the drone ship, this landing attempt is going to be a tougher one. But it's going to be exciting nonetheless, and of course we're going to try to show you that live as it's happening. Today's launch window is 96 minutes long, and if we can't do what we need to do within that 96 minutes, we're going to pack it up and we're going to try again on another date.
We've gotten confirmation that the first stage is finished loading its liquid oxygen. The second stage is continuing to finish its load. And the second stage is now fully loaded as well.
You can actually hear everyone cheering about that. We're getting pretty close to the liftoff, so let's turn it over to the countdown net and see what's happening on the pad.
Hold. This is MIFCO on channel 1 with a hold due to range safety.
Fouled range, Farsi on countdown 1.
Okay, proceeding to the launch abort section 10.64. BC verified the flight computer is not in startup.
Flight computer is not in startup.
OSM verify radio safety FTS and report.
Radio safety FTS.
OSM set launch unable to inhibit.
We're inhibited.
GC verify stage 1 and stage 2 locks interface. Fill manifolds are vented.
Vented.
And RP also.
Vented.
GC verify water and deluge ring pressurization valve secured.
Copy, secured.
Verify launch mount and hold down cooling is secured.
Verified, secured.
Verified TVC tank is vented.
Verified.
This is John Innsbrucker at the Falcon 9 webcast desk here in SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne. You heard at T-minus 1 minute and 33 seconds the hold called. That was range safety calling the hold for what they call a fouled range. We're going to go back and listen to the countdown net a little bit more, but just wanted to bring you that first update. It was not a Falcon 9 issue. Our ground system had loaded the propellant onto the first stage and the second stage. We were getting ready to go to the startup sequence at T-minus 1 minute when the range called a hold. So let's go back and listen to countdown 1 for a minute in case we can get some more data.
Ready. OSM, verify hold fire is removed.
Hold fire is removed.
GC, verify T-tab is secured.
Verified.
John Insberger again with an update from the Falcon 9 launch desk here in Hawthorne. As you can see on the webcast, T-minus 1 minute 33 seconds. We're holding for what they have as an issue with the range. There are some reports that it appears there may be a ship within the keep out zone of the range. We're waiting for confirmation of that, so take that with a grain of salt. Right now you've been listening to Countdown 1, where the SpaceX team has been safing the Falcon 9. We have not scrubbed for the moment. We're going to continue listening to Countdown 1, see if there's an opportunity to possibly recycle the launch this evening. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes with an update, but we're going to listen in, along with you, to the webcast on Countdown Net 1 to see where we're going with this evening's launch attempt.
AVI, are you on external power, stage 1 and stage 2?
AVI is trickle charging currently.
So you're on internal power.
We are on internal power. The batteries are not loaded.
Copy. AVI, instruct VC to cycle power on transmitters to keep the temperatures within launch limits.
Copy, Wilco LC.
Well, we're giving you an update right now from the webcast desk here in Hawthorne, SpaceX headquarters. Not much to add for the moment. The SpaceX team continues to hold the Falcon 9, keeping it in a safe position. We have not scrubbed the launch. We've recycled the countdown clock. You can see it reading T-minus 10 minutes and 42 seconds and holding. We pretty much just backed up to a position just beyond 10 minutes before liftoff when a lot of that integrated sequence between the Falcon 9 flight computers and the ground computers kicks off that I talked about earlier in the webcast. So right now the team is going through looking at Falcon 9 telemetry, looking at what the limits need to be at liftoff, making some adjustments in case we have an opportunity to try another launch attempt this evening. Now, one word about the range safety. The Eastern Range, headquartered out there at Cape Canaveral, Patrick Air Force Base, they provide safety memos to the community in the same way that we notify airlines to avoid certain areas at launch. We also notify the mariners, the seagoing community, areas to avoid. So in this case, we have to avoid for several minutes before launch until several minutes after launch, areas underneath the Falcon 9 as it heads into space. At the same time, because we're doing a first stage recovery, we also warn the mariner traffic out at sea about the first stage coming down to the drone ship about 600 kilometers offshore of Florida out in the Atlantic Ocean. It's not clear, I have not heard yet, which of those areas has the issue. It does sound like there is a ship in the keep out zone. I just don't know for the moment whether it's the keep out zone under the rocket as it heads to space or near the first stage as it comes back. But those keep out zones are fairly narrow in time. We don't block out for hours and hours. It's just for several minutes right before launch until several minutes after launch when all the significant events are complete. So we're going to continue to monitor Countdown 1, wait for some more definitive word on what we'll do with the Falcon 9, whether we've got another launch attempt this evening or if we will have to recycle and try on another day. Currently, T-minus 10 minutes and 42 seconds and holding. This is the Falcon 9 webcast desk in Hawthorne, California.
Was that for LC on countdown.net? Okay, setting the liftoff time for 001900 UTC, February 29th.
That's just, everyone here can go.
Resetting the T clock or liftoff time to 002100.
Welcome back at the SpaceX Falcon 9 webcast desk. The clock right now is set at 11 minutes and 33 seconds and counting to launch. We're attempting a launch window at 19 minutes after the hour. So as you see on the webcast, just 11 and a half minutes from now. We're going to listen to countdown 1 as we go through the last 11 minutes of the count. The team is continuing to assess. They believe their last opportunity is in 11 minutes, but they're going to allow the count to continue and continue working this as close to T0 as possible, at the same time waiting for the range to give us the okay to clear once they make sure that the ship is not in danger offshore in the liftoff area. So let's listen to the countdown at T-minus 10 minutes and 50 seconds, and we'll come back with more information as we hear it and as you hear it. One quick update as you're watching the countdown clock at T-minus 9 minutes and 20 seconds. The new T0 has just been updated to 21 minutes after the hour. So we're going to continue to listen in as we try to be able to hit the last opportunity to launch this evening. So let's listen in to countdown 1.
T-minus 9 minutes. FTS announcing on internal power. FTS, are you on internal power?
FTS is an internal power.
Are you armed?
FTS is armed.
Stage 2 TVC motion nominal. Confirm. GNC countdown net.
Go.
GNC countdown net.
TVC motion is nominal.
Come in. TVC nominal.
LD verify go for launch.
LD is go for launch. The range is green.
Structures global. BC verify F9 is in startup.
F9's in startup.
T-minus 30. T-minus 20. T-minus 15. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, we have launch abort. Proceeding to the abort section. BC countdown net.
Go ahead.
Verify launch auto sequence is aborted and the flight computer is not in startup.
Launch auto sequence is aborted.
GC reactivate fire exit present on the launch mount.
Copy.
OSM verify ready to safety FTS and report.
Ready to safety FTS.
OSM set launch and able to inhibit.
Inhibit.
GC verify stage 1 and stage 2 locks and RP interface fill manifolds are vented.
Verified.
Verify water secured, water and deluge ring pressurization valves, verify rainbird secured, and verify launch mount and hold down coolings are secured.
All secured.
Verify TVC tank is vented.
Verified.
Secure T-tap per step 64.9.
In work.
OSM verify nominal FTS state and report.
OIs are in safe state. Brake wires are disarmed. FTS is on external power. FTS state is saved.
Copy, standing by until the strong back raise is complete.
LC ready for raising strong back?
Ready.
John Innsbrucker back here at Falcon 9 webcast headquarters in Hawthorne. As you saw, we were counting down. We got to just about T0 when we had an abort in the ignition sequence. Now, prior to the abort, the countdown was going well. The range did go green. They were clear within just the last couple of minutes of launch. And so we were attempting to hit a window of 21 minutes after the hour. That was roughly 34 minutes after the planned launch time earlier this evening. Now, currently, the Falcon 9 is safe. This is a sequence that we've gone through, the safing sequence that you heard part of on the countdown net. we use many times in Texas when we test the first stage and the second stage, also at Cape Canaveral when we static fire the first stage a few days before launch. So that sequence is not unusual. It's well checked out. The team is working through it right now, taking pressure off of the tanks, making sure that the engines are purged, that there's no fires, nothing like that on the launch pad. That'll give them a chance to first safe the vehicle and then take a look at what the cause of the abort was. We have not heard the cause of the abort yet. Obviously, we were in the ignition sequence, so it'll be related undoubtedly to some aspect of that startup sequence when the flight computer commands the 9 engines to start and then checks the configuration of those engines, make sure that all the valves are closed, the valves are open, whatever the requirement is, that we're at the right pressures before the flight computer tells the ground to release it. So that sequence ran as intended. We got a problem. The flight computer declared an abort. We shut down the engines and the Falcon 9 is safe right now. We're going to go back to the launch pad for just a minute and then I'll come back and give an update. But obviously for this evening, that is going to be the only launch attempt, but we're waiting to just get that final official word that we're going to be scrubbed for the night. But we'll go back to countdown 1 now, and then I'll come back with a final update, undoubtedly, for the rest of the evening.
Strongback raise idle is complete. AVI, are you still charging batteries?
Yes, batteries are on trickle charge still.
All right, stand by there. AVI, instruct the VC to cycle power on transmitters to keep the temperatures within launch limits.
Copy, Wilco.
Okay, the vehicle is safe. Please stand by while data is reviewed and the path forward is determined.
Well, for those who might be just joining us and for those who've been with us, here's an update on what's been going on out at Cape Canaveral. As you can see, Falcon 9 is vertical. The strongback has come back around the vehicle. The Falcon 9 is safe. We have depressurized the tanks from their planned flight pressures that we do at about T-minus 1 minute. We're currently protecting the vehicle with the erector as we normally do during most of the countdown. The team right now has not scrubbed for the night, but they are evaluating the data. There are several indicators, telemetry samples on the first stage system that they're looking at. So currently they are trying to determine whether or not we would try another launch attempt tonight. If we did, the window will close in approximately 51 minutes, so we've still got some time. Right now, I would have to say it's probably questionable if we're going to get there, but I want to emphasize we have not scrubbed. For the moment, the team has finished the safing steps, and now they're evaluating the data, consulting with the launch team, management back here in Hawthorne to determine what we're going to do next. So we're going to continue to broadcast shot of the pad, let you listen to the countdown net, and I'll come back once we determine what our path is forward. So anyways, right now Falcon 9 is safe. We're looking at what we want to do next, and in the meantime, we'll leave you with the view of the vehicle on the pad.
AVI, I'm going to proceed with securing. Go ahead and verify stage 1 and stage 2 are on external power.
Copy, we'll go.
GS, you did say we're on data hourly rollover, right? We don't need to. Okay, this is ALC on the countdown net, proceeding into the scrub section. OSM reestablished the BDA roadblocks, LC40.
Roger and word.
Mission manager, countdown net. Step 67.4. Notify the spacecraft controller that launch is being scrubbed for the day.
Will do. I think they're going to want to stay powered on and charge batteries, but we'll deconfigure from flight configuration.
Okay. VC prop and ground on the countdown net.
And second stage and first stage. Two.
Well, good evening from the Falcon 9 webcast desk here in SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. You may have just heard the SpaceX launch conductor come over the net and declare a scrub for the evening. That will end our launch attempts for this evening. We don't have another launch date planned at the moment. We are going to have to continue to evaluate the first stage telemetry that we have when we counted down the rocket and we held the launch just about T-minus 1 second as we got into the engine ignition sequence. Now the good news, as I've stressed before, the Falcon 9 is safe. The vehicle went through a standard recovery sequence that we've used many times. Currently now the team will proceed into another standard sequence, which is to detank pressure and gas and liquids off of the stage and get it ready for another launch attempt, while at the same time the engineering team has a chance to take a look at the telemetry, determine what changes, if any, they need to make before we proceed into another launch attempt. The good news in today is that we had a very smooth countdown. Even the weather cooperated at the upper altitudes. We got liquid oxygen and cold RP1 kerosene onto the first and second stage. Everything was looking good, but then at T-minus 1 minute and 37 seconds, we had a hold called by range safety. There is a ship out in the what I call the keep out area underneath the first stage trajectory as it heads miles out over the Atlantic. So we had to stop for that for the safety of the ship that was out in the Atlantic. We finally got a chance to make a launch attempt at 21 minutes after the hour, but as we got into ignition, we had to hold at just before T0 using our standard alarm sequence that avoids releasing the Falcon 9 until we're really sure that everything is ready to go on the rocket. So the vehicle's safe again. Just to reiterate, we'll take a look at what we need to do, recycle, and please check with us on our social media sites, SpaceX.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and various sites. I know a lot of you follow us along. That'll probably be the first place that you'll see where we announce the new launch date and time for the flight of SES-9 on the Falcon 9 to geostationary transfer orbit. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for watching tonight on the webcast, and we'll be back with you when we're ready to launch Falcon 9 again. Thanks and good evening.